Hey guys, King of Trimanners here, and today I bring to you a video on my top 5 tips for the Ice Element event. The Ice Elemental event is a great way for you to build your ice weapons and armor. Ice is a very difficult weapon element to build, and armor element, just because Legiana is only found in swamps, and Barioth is gone from the field right now, at least until this event, where you will find it in hats. So, if you're looking at Hunt-a-thons and you want to find Barioth and slay them so you can get your Barioth equipment to grade 6, or if your weapons are close to grade 10 5 out of 5, this event is totally for you. And here are some tips that may help you if you are playing this event. Remember, this event is to prepare for Zinogre coming out to the field, so grind as hard as you can. Literally, the next week after this event, we are going to have Zinogre on the field for the very first time. That's what a lot of you are gunning for. I've wanted it for a long time, and I can't wait to get my Zinogre weapon to grade 10 5 out of 5 for the next June update and for when Elder Dragons come out. Alright, let's get started. For the first tip, learn Barioth and Legiana's attack patterns and elemental weaknesses. So take a look at my Barioth and Legiana videos if you need to. I have all the attack patterns and some tips and tricks. I'm going to put them all in the description and in the end credits. So Legiana and Barioth have very devastating movesets if you've never fought them before, especially Barioth, so I recommend you take a look at those, learn their attack patterns, and again their elemental weaknesses, as both Barioth and Legiana are both weak to the fire element. So, what melts ice? Fire! So light them on fire. Barioth will also only be available in Hunt-a-thons, so you can hunt them in the group. So Legiana, you don't have to worry about too much. If you've slain Legiana, or if you're slay Legiana pretty fast, don't have to worry about Legiana. It's Barioth you kind of have to worry about, but not really, because since they're going to be in hats, all you have to do is just group up, and you and your group will want to kill that as fast as possible. However, it's good to know that it's movesets, because Barioth's attacks can have a large hitbox. So Barioth, if you've never fought it before, or if you know it, it's one of the most painful monsters in the game, because it's literally going to fly towards you and run you over like a semi-truck. So the Saber-tooth Tiger, Dragon Flying Wyvern thingy can also do a whole bunch of other things, so make sure you know its movesets. And Legiana can also be difficult for newer players, as it is a 5-star minimum large monster. Legiana, if you're one of the newer players out there or beginners, it's one of the hardest monsters in the story just because it has such a diverse moveset, and it will freeze you to death. It's super powerful, and again, it's a minimum 5 stars. So again, take a look at my moveset guides for both Barioth and Legiana. Even if you've never fought them before, or if you're just starting out, always worth to look at just so you know ahead of time what you're up against. Moving on to my next tip, we have number 2, which is use mhn.quest to take a look at how many materials you will need for your ice equipment. Some of you have already slain Barioth from before it disappeared from the field and just need a few more materials to get your Barioth gear to where you need. I know this is the case with some of you for the Van Braces, because you were like, man, it disappeared right before I could get my grade 6, so you can go from Ice Attack 1 to Ice Attack 2. However, for a lot of the top builds, you also need Barioth's body. That's just the way it is because of ice being limited as far as flexible slots for armor, which is just unfortunate. So use mhn.quest. I'm going to put the description in the link for that website on video description to see what materials you need to build for your ice weapons and armor. So that website is great because it will tell you to the T what materials you need, and I still do this to this day. As in general, it's good practice to sit down and take a look ahead of what it's going to cost you to build some things before you start spending resources. So before you go all trigger happy with your resources, especially with those things like refining parts, you know, the thing that progression walls you on purpose so that you don't have Japanese players or players in Asia with half an arsenal of grade 10 5 out of 5 weapons. So make sure you're using your resources wisely. I still do it to this day because I predict what the next wave of content might be, or hey, can I put this into this thing so I don't have to throw anything away? A good example of this is my Black Diablo bow. Obviously, I love the Black Diablo bow. Black is my favorite color. When it first released, I long predicted it would be a super meta weapon, and I was correct. However, I like to branch into other things. So now I'm building my Rathalos light bowgun because I love it. It's amazing, and I almost have it at grade 7 for... no, it's not 7.4, to grade 7 5 out of 5. So that's what I'm spending next. And it's plenty because all I'm doing is saving a bunch of Wyvern gem shards for the next wave of content that's coming in June possibly. So again, good practice, sit down, take a look at what you got, what you might need, and it will pay dividends for you in the future. For my next tip, we have tip number 3, focus on one ice weapon type. Don't waste your resources. So I'm doubling down on this because if you're on the ice weapons, you're probably either already past the post game or you're a newer player / beginning player and you're trying to get through Legiana in the story. So here's the thing, I'm gonna tell you, do not waste your resources. Outside of events, Legiana and Barioth can be hard to come by. Well, Barioth especially since it's gone, but Legiana is also only in one biome, and again, outside of events, it's kind of difficult to find. So for this reason, you should figure out what weapon type best suits your gameplay. So you might reach a point where like, this weapon sucks. For me, that was sword and shield. A long time ago, I was like, you know what, sword and shield just isn't cutting it. So that's why I switched to bow. I'm a dual blades main. Dual blades wasn't in the game at the time. So I was like, you know what, I gotta switch to something else. Did some research and the bow was an S tier super weapon. Well, not super weapon. It has the super weapon, which is the Belos bow. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go to a bow. So with that being said, I like the bow. I also love the light bow gun now. So for this reason, you should figure out what weapon type best suits your gameplay. Obviously, I still practice melee. It's good to practice all weapon types, at least for me, because I'm at the point where I can do that. The thing is, if you've already invested past grade 7, 5 out of 5, then you should focus on that one weapon type. Otherwise, now would be the good time to switch. So if you haven't used Wyvern gem shards on one particular weapon as of right now, we do not have dismantling your weapon, so you could get materials back. So you should focus on that weapon type until you get it to full power. But like I mentioned, if you're at that point to where you can turn back, now's the time to do it. However, better ice weapons may come out in the future, so be certain this weapon type is something you're going to use for a while. So, that's just the nature of Monster Hunter, you know what I mean? New weapon monster comes out and you're like, oh wow, that's really good, I should start building towards that. That's literally what it's going to be. It is almost, I wouldn't say it's impossible, well actually it's kind of impossible because new monsters will be coming to the game every time. You have players out there that are completionists. You want to grade 10 5 out of 5 every weapon and armor. That's not going to happen. You're going to take a very long time. It's going to take years, and that's not really how Monster Hunter really... Like, yeah, you can completionist, but here's the thing. In OG Monster Hunter main series, you can sit down, hunt as much as you want. In Monster Hunter now, it's an augmented reality game. You got to walk out, you got to go do a lot of things, and you will have that progression block because of resources like refining parts. And it's a healthy way to do that because otherwise, like I mentioned before, Asia or Japan, players in Hong Kong, half of their weapons would be grade 10, 5 out of 5 or more for some of the players down there if they had no progression while stopping them naturally. It's a necessary part of the game to keep the game healthy and to keep it going for a long time.
You'll never make it in this business if you get upset every time the kids beat you up.
Moving on, we have tip number 4. Use poison instead of fire. If you don't have a fire weapon built, poison can also work really well for Legiana. So if you are a beginner or a veteran, you know that poison is one of the best elements in the game, arguably the best element in the game, because poison can do a lot of things. It does passive damage, and for Legiana in particular, poison can stun Legiana and keep it from flying. It also stuns it for a little bit. It'll like shake its head and do this like, it'll have poison foaming out its mouth. It'll just like shake its head so it stuns it for a little bit. And the passive damage is also a great bonus even against Barioth. To maximize your poison ability, use the status sneak attack 4 poison build. So, because Legiana gets stunned and you can keep it from flying, etc., using this build, using status sneak attack 4 is very valuable. And the good thing is status sneak attack 4 armor is very accessible, cheap because you only need it at grade 4. And I'm going to mention a status sneak attack 4 build after this slide. So yes, use status sneak attack 4 against Legiana. If you're a beginner, you're going to have a great time when you poison Legiana to death using this build. Alright, here's the status sneak attack 4 poison build. So this build is great for beginners and veterans. This build requires you to attack a monster from behind, but the build-up damage will be worth it. If you use lock-on, you need lock-on. You could use the helm slot, so there's a lot of flexibility you could do here. And there's a lot of ways you can poison the monster. But again, just poison, attack it from behind. You don't even need to be directly in front, like behind the monster. You just need to be behind it and attacking behind it. So you can lock onto the head, roll to the back, and smack away at its booty, and then you can poison it. This build is also useful in group hunts as poison tick damage scales based off of how high the monster's HP is. So if you're a beginner and you're trying to do 8-star Zinogre, you'll actually do a lot if you're able to poison Zinogre because of Zinogre's high HP in Hunt-a-thons. And this build works for both Legiana and Barioth. You can use it against both. Barioth, he's going to be flying around everywhere, so it might be a little annoying. But that poison tick scale damage is still going to be really useful against that flying saber-toothed tiger destroying, like I mentioned, the semi-truck of destruction if you're fighting in Hunt-a-thons. And last but not least, we have tip number 5, how to maximize double drops efficiently. So use your monster tracker so you can get extra encounters against Legiana. Legiana is available on the monster tracker. Sadly, Barioth isn't. I wish that was something changed, and I'll mention that later at the end of the video. So hopefully Niantic hears our feedback about that. And Legiana can only be encountered in swamps, so hunt in large swamp biomes to maximize efficiency. Sadly, this is a lot, it depends on how much Legiana is boosted, but it's a lot worse than the Tobi-Kadachi and Sisiyaku from the last event because you can hunt 2 monsters in multiple biomes for the Thunder event. For this one, you only have Legiana out on the field, while Barioth will only spawn in hats, so you will only be able to hunt it in groups. Even if you are under-leveled, it's highly likely people won't mind carrying you through Barioth. Barioth is a pretty easy monster to beat. Starts at 4 stars, can go all the way up from there, but I don't think it will be that difficult in hats, especially since you have 4 people helping you out. So for those of you that are extremely strong, and you are complaining about helping a monster newbie through Barioth, it's not that hard, so I don't know what you're complaining about. Slay the Barioth, destroy it, get your stuff, and then press forward. However, it's important to note, remember, Barioth will stay in hats after the ice event is over. So don't feel like you have to have a bunch of fear of missing out or FOMO over the fact that Barioth will disappear, because it's not. It's going to stay in hats after this event is over, so after this event, you still have a chance to get your Barioth weapons and armor gear, whatever you're trying to build after this event. Again, maximize your double drops efficiently, use your monster tracker against Legiana, find swamp biomes, destroy Legiana, and hopefully you get a lot of good drops for this event. Hopefully these tips help you out with the Ice Elemental event, and remember, after this event is the Zinogre event, so be ready to take out Zinogre in the field. This event is literally to prepare for one of the best events in Monster Hunter now, where that thing in Hunt-a-thons that you've been hunting for so much and could only hunt at the end or during Zinogre events where it was in all slots for the Hunt-a-thon, you are going to be able to hunt it out in the field. So I can imagine a whole lot of you are going to go out here and slay a bunch of Zinogre, because I know I am. Ice Elemental weapons are the most effective against Zinogre, and you will take out a lot of Zinogre if you are able to adequately build your ice weapons and armor using this Ice Elemental event. So go out there, grind hard, and get ready to grind for next week. With that being said, please do me a huge favor. Like, subscribe, and comment for the YouTube algorithm. Again, I hope some of these tips did help you out. Good luck on your grinds, and I will see y'all on the next video.